so much for doing this. I really
Oh,
appreciate it.
Thanks for having us on. It's great.
Yeah.
So our podcast is about your guys' journey in the music industry and how, you guys started the band, and obviously you all have separate careers outside of this band as well. And I don't know how comfortable we can talk about that as well, if that's cool with you guys.
Whatever you want.
Awesome.
Except for our jail time.
I'm sorry?
Except for the jail time. Everything,
Okay. So I guess I usually just start off by asking, where is everybody from? Where did you guys all born and raised?
Well, we'll start with Adam since he's all alone on this.
I'm the long answer. I was born in Scotland and raised all over the world. My dad was military, so.
Oh yeah, you're telling me earlier he's in the Navy. So
yeah, Europe, Thailand, Alaska, Hawaii. I mean, you name it, all over.
That's interesting. I always felt, I don't know, I don't want to be. Like, I kind of felt bad for those kids because I knew a lot of them growing up here in San Diego. It's a huge military town. I always felt bad that these kids are like, you live in a place for 2 years, live there for 2 years. Is that kind of like what happened with you growing up?
Yeah, I mean, I think, every situation's got its ups and downs, something good and bad you can take from it. I mean, the good side is, I spent my time all around the world. Sure. I got to see a lot about life and see different, perspectives and things. I also got to learn how to get along with people quickly because if you're new, you've got to learn how to make friends and
make
adapt.
Friends fast.
What happened with us?
Exactly. I got stuck here. That's what happened. But then at the same time, there's a certain, when I was really young, it didn't matter so much. When you get to a certain age, when you start to really make those good friends, that can be tough. But on the flip side, then if you're a place where you didn't like that place and didn't really have any good friends you're happy to start over again someplace new.
Right. Yeah. You're like, well, I'll be gone here in 2 years.
Right, hit that reset button.
Peter, where are you from?
Los Angeles.
Los Angeles.
You're the one.
Los Angeles.
The only one.
Yeah, that's true. The only one. Yeah, I went to the East Coast for college. Got to travel around a lot with my dad growing up because for his work, and then would take family vacations in Greece, where my father's from. But no, I live in Venice. I grew up in Venice for the most part. Didn't go very far.
That's cool. I mean, I always say I'm in San Diego, and it's hard to when you leave, but then you always kind of go back, and you're like, well, I kind of grew up in.
It's a great spot.
Great spot.
Anything the weather. I mean, where are you going to go? That's better weather. Now there are other problems here, but
Right. But, yeah, that is with everything. Is it Brianna? Brina. Sorry, Brina. Where'd you grow up?
Well, at that time it was called Zaire, but now it's Republic of Congo. And
oh wow.
We moved. It got pretty. That was in '80, so it got kind of hard to be in. So then we moved over to California when I was about 3 years old.
Wow. Or what were you? How were you guys? Or why were you guys there in the Congo?
Well, my
drug runners.
Yeah.
Diamond runners. Sorry, diamond runners.
My mom's Tanzanian, and there's a story of how she met my dad. And then my dad was working in the Peace Corps, and he was over there working in the Serengeti. And he fell in love with it. And then I think, he moved, after being in the Serengeti once, he moved back to LA. He met my mom, and then they moved back there because they loved being over there. So and they had me,
Yeah, that's awesome. That's really cool.
Yeah.
And then
Serengeti and meatballs.
Exactly.
Kevin, how'd you get into music? Or where'd you grow up?
It's really similar to Adam, but it was construction instead of military.
Oh, moved around a lot.
Utah, New York, Texas, Pennsylvania, Virginia. I graduated high school in DC, and then went straight to Nashville and started doing music.
Wow.
Phil, Memphis, LA.
Cool. Very cool. Okay. Yeah. Now I want to know how you guys got into music. So Adam, how'd you get into music originally? I know you're a bass player. Was that the first instrument you picked up?
It's the first one that I started to actually get serious about. I'd always wanted as a kid to be, a musician, loved it my whole life. My dad was a great music lover, had tons of great records and things. So I thought, hey, that'd be pretty cool to be able to do. Wanted to learn to play guitar, took a couple of lessons that were terrible, that actually turned me away from playing.
Really?
And,
why was that? Just the guy?
It was like a 6-week community college course kind of thing that my mom took me to. I was like in the 4th or 5th grade. And it was literally one of these where I got a nylon string $20 acoustic guitar.
Mhm.
And after 6 weeks, they had taught me the first 5 frets of the high 3 strings, not a single chord. I wanted to, as a kid, like I wanted to learn to play songs that I knew.
Right.
These people were teaching me, Old Lang Syne and things on a, single note. I was like, this sucks. And what I'm doing sounds nothing like what I'm hearing and what I want to do.
Mhm.
So I kind of like gave it up, thought I couldn't really do it. And then just as a lark, when I moved to Alaska, I wanted to get a nice, easy class. And I thought, well, maybe I could get into a music class at the school and they could teach me guitar, because whatever they taught me had to be better than that. And the school was really small. And the music teacher, I talked to him the day I was signing up for classes. And he goes, honestly, I have 0 room for a guitar player in this. He goes, but I could probably use a bass player for our school band. He goes, are you interested in that? And at that point, to me, that just sounded like a fun class,
Yeah.
to break up my day. I was like, sure, sold, I'm in. And then I just really got into it. And I still play a little bit of guitar as well, although that's not my main thing at all.
You play
Right.
you play guitar
You do,
pretty
yeah.
well.
That's usually how it is. The guy that's like, I'm not that good at it. They're like a shredder.
No, I'm not a
We're not
shredder.
saying-
I'm
we're
not
not
a shredder.
saying he's all that. He's better than us. Don't get me
No,
wrong.
not even close.
I love it. So Peter, how'd you get into music?
My parents were always in music, and I grew up around it. They were in a band in the 60s and 70s.
Oh,
and,
really? That's
yeah,
really
a
cool.
West Coast band, toured up and down the West Coast. So it was around me from the beginning. But the funny part was I really didn't start taking it seriously till the end of high school. I played in all the bands, from not jazz band, but the
Like the orchestra,
well, yeah, the orchestra.
like the marching band or whatever.
I played different instruments from recorder, like all the little kids do, violin, clarinet. But I excelled at a lot of those, and I sang in choir. But I never took it seriously. And then it was my senior year of high school. I was kind of bored. I picked up a guitar. My dad threw a Beatles book in front of me, kind of pissed off because he'd gotten me 2 or 3 guitars along the way that I would never touch. He said, learn a few of these songs. I did. I got to college. I was either get a job at the library or play in a band. That was an easy choice. Played in a band, made a couple $100 a week, and there I was off and running.
Wow, that's awesome. Did you get a chance to? You said your parents were in a band. Were you able to go to their shows at all? Or are you too young?
No, I was too young for that. But actually, Adam and I, with a couple other friends of ours, several years ago, recorded an album with my dad. And
Really?
my mom has passed away, but of a bunch of songs he wrote back in the day. And it inspired him to do another album. And then, in fact, with our band, we just a few weeks ago, we recorded a couple more of his songs, and they're coming out great. So
Wow,
we've gotten to collaborate in other ways.
that's awesome. That's really awesome.
Yeah,
So
cool.
you're able to actually, go in and record some of his older songs that he hadn't recorded, or just like newer, updated versions. Or...
Oh, both. The ones we did a couple weeks ago, they're brand new stuff he's written in the last year or so, and the songs we did several years ago, that it was a collection of new songs and songs he wrote in the 60s and in the 70s.
Wow,
Yeah,
that's
so
cool.
That was pretty fun, and he got a real kick out of it because just being in a recording studio. We went to a really nice studio. Obviously, we have a bunch of really good players, and everyone's close. So it's just a lot of camaraderie there. And he's like, "Wow, this is what you guys do every day. I should have stuck to this." So,
That's cool. That's rad. And Brina, how'd you get into music?
Well, I'd always been a singer, so I grew up all my childhood up through high school singing and playing keys. And then once I got to college, I was playing collegiate soccer and kind of didn't have any time for anything else. So that went by the wayside. And once I graduated,
good soccer player.
once I graduated, I decided actually to go to engineering school, and that kind of brought me. I mean, music is everything. I love music. So, I mean, it's on 24/7 for me. So going to engineering school just made a lot of sense, and that kind of brought me back into it. And then I met Peter, and then we started playing together as far as, single acoustic songwriter stuff, and then expanded, and here I am back into the music world.
Wow. You said you went to school to be an engineer. Is that like audio engineering, or what
Yeah.
field.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So I went to university for, nothing related to audio engineering, and I graduated.
Mhm.
And I went out in the world and did my thing, and then I went back into audio engineering school. Yeah.
She
Very
does all the
cool.
engineering for us.
If I
Oh,
may
really?
speak, if I may, yes, she does. She records and mixes everything. And
Wow.
if I may speak, she's being very humble. She was a soccer player at UC Berkeley, and
Wow.
and she was pre-med, so she outclassed us all.
Oh my gosh.
Fine.
So look what I did with it.
Yeah. Then again,
Pre-med, what the hell happened?
I know.
well, she does do
My
a lot of
parents
psychological work in the band.
Oh, that's funny. That's cool. So you engineer all the recording sessions for everybody
Yeah.
here, huh?
Yeah.
Wow.
You wear both hats, and it's a lot of fun.
Have you got to work with, I mean, aside from these amazing gentlemen, like, who have you got to work with any big people that you were super excited about working with?
I have, to be honest, it's been a while. I didn't really take the standard path of going into a really big studio and, that had multiple rooms and you work there for 5 years running and working up the ladder. I kind of pretty much a year into me being on my own from graduating, I went solo and freelance.
Oh, wow.
So my path has been more about being the head engineer at private studios.
That's
and
cool.
working with whoever comes into that.
Mhm.
So it's kind of been a little different, but I would say, I almost entirely, I've enjoyed everyone I've worked with.
You
That's
live
cool.
and breathe indie, Brina.
Huh?
You
Yeah,
live
exactly.
and breathe indie. That's your whole deal.
Exactly.
But I will
That's
say,
cool.
when I did start out, I did start at a pretty big studio, and I was I love the Pogues, and I remember they came in for a thing, and that was huge for me. I was pretty
Wow. That's really cool.
But yeah,
Nice. Very cool. And Kevin, how about you? How did you get into music?
I don't know why, but as a kid, I was obsessed. I wanted to play guitar, and for some reason, I had a feeling I could do it too, and I'm not sure where that came from. But
Good intuition.
Yeah. How old do you remember how old you were when you were like, what, I think I want to play guitar?
I finally talked my folks into it.
Okay.
We're like, no way, we don't want him to become a musician and all that stuff. Really kind of like, no. So 9th grade, I started doing it, and it was really just for fun. It was something I could do by myself. It kind of tied into the moving around all the time too thing. Like it came with me everywhere. And it wasn't until probably my senior year. I remember I took an acoustic guitar to like a kegger, like a high school party in Texas. And you were like, "You play guitar, right? Bring your guitar." And I was playing high school football at the time, and I knew I was horrible at. In Texas too, where they're serious about it.
You're lucky you're alive.
I really,
Yeah, right.
it was funny. Anyway, I remember being at this party and playing and jamming with people, and a buddy of mine walked over to me and he was like, "Hey, bro, what are you doing?" And I was like, "What do you mean?" He's like, "You suck at football. You're good at that."
I forgot about that story. That's a good one.
And shortly after that, I met one of my best friends in high school. His older brother was living with a songwriter that was about to move to Nashville and had a deal. And we did some shows, and he was like, "Dude, you want to go to Nashville? Let's go do this." So it kind of went from there.
And that's what took you to Nashville
That's
eventually?
what took me doing it for a living and stuff. And then slowly people started asking me to record on stuff. And I left Memphis and was a live guitar player for Skillet for a couple of years, 19 or 20, I think. And then I came out to LA after that.
Cool. Very cool. So you were in Skillet for a little bit, and then you're not playing with them anymore?
No. I was in that band from 99 to 2002 or something like that.
Oh, okay. Right on. Very cool.
My first gig, I was 19 years old.
Yeah, that's awesome. Wow. To be in that level of a band too.
Killer education, for sure.
Yeah. Wow. Awesome. And then Adam, so we were talking earlier that you're still playing with Candlebox. When did you start getting in bands and playing in bands? I know between you and Kevin, you're moving around a lot. Was it hard to find people to play with, and then the band starts, and then maybe you move, or or how did
Yeah,
that work?
there was some of that. I mean, I think you know, if you're a musician, you're probably always playing in some sort of a band, just not necessarily anything good at the beginning. You know what I mean?
Sure.
You know, that was one of the reasons also why I focused more on bass than guitar, because I realized early on if I played guitar, I could probably get into a band or make a band. But if I picked up the bass, I got into a really good band because people needed bass players. And for me, it was about doing something that I really enjoyed, the creativity, the musicianship, you know, so I always wanted to be pushing to a higher level. You know, anytime I felt like it was at a level where I felt like I was above, not meaning to say anything bad, but you know, you feel like you're at a point like, hey, these guys, I've reached a point I'm better than them. And then I wanted to move to the next band where I was the worst one in the band and learn from those people, you know, because I think the people around you push you, you know what I mean? And that's the beautiful thing, you know, when you're in a great group, you get so much from the other musicians, you know, even if it's a different instrument, it makes you raise your game, so to speak, you know? So I think that I always had that journey. The moving didn't change that much. I think it's just, especially in the beginning, you're in a band and you're doing things, and you don't get really necessarily any real success from it outside of the musicianship, and the creativity is always there. That's great. You're always looking for that. But then when you become an adult, you get out of high school, you suddenly realize it's like, okay, at some point, if I'm going to put all my energy into this, I need to find a way to pay the rent with it. So then you need to get into these bands that do things, you know, that move forward. And I've always been in the mindset, if you're in a good band, you've got great players, you got good people, and you create good stuff, it will come, you know. So you just have to make sure that you're always doing something that you like and that you believe in, and be realistic with, you know, is this something that you could do with? Because there's certain things you play with great people, but maybe it's just a part-time thing for people, or, you know what I mean? You just have to gauge that, like, find like-minded, serious people that feel like, hey, you know, we've got a shot to maybe go out there and travel the world and play and write great songs. You know, that's, you know.
And and with Candlebox, were you in the band when they formed it, or did you
No,
start with them, or you joined it later? Because I think they're from Seattle, right?
I'm an aftermarket part.
Okay, well, I mean, still, that's rad that you're playing with them.
Custom aftermarket part.
Yeah, I suppose so.
Custom, I like that.
No, I mean, I've known Kevin, and I've played with those guys almost as long as I've known Peter. I started working with, God, I don't want to say what year we started working together. Was it 99, something like that, 98?
8.
So, yeah, 98.
Wow.
So Peter and I have been through a few projects together.
Sorry.
And then with Candlebox and Kevin, I had another band with Kevin before Candlebox, and that was 2003. So
okay,
it's like, you know what I mean? When I find people I like and like working with them, and they're good friends, like, it just goes on. So Peter and I have been very fortunate that we've had so many cool projects, and some of those, I mean, last December, I mean, a lot of things that were really great stuff and almost got through, but for one reason or another didn't quite do it. But this one here, you know, we've with this group of people, we're turning out music so fast, and it's all stuff that we like, and it just feels like, you know, the potential is really, really great with this one, you know.
Yeah, this one's special.
What's that?
This one's special.
Yeah, this is by far the best project we've done together. And I don't want to say project. I hate the term project. It's a band, you know, but you just refer to it like that. You know what I mean? It's like you look at it and you go, wow, there's something really good here. And you know, everyone involved is just, both musically and personally, are just such good people. It's, I mean, I'm very thankful. So.
Yeah, I think we all feel that way. For all of us, this band is particularly special for a number of reasons, musically, emotionally, friend wise. It's just, we got something good here. So we're giving it our all collectively, individually, and it's paying off, which helps things out. But it's fun. I mean, really, there's certain times when it's been laborious, but even then, it doesn't feel heavy. There's not like a heavy weight with it that comes with that.
And Peter, you said you guys met like 99-ish when you started working with Adam. Like, how did you guys meet?
I had written a bunch of songs, finished college, written a bunch of songs, and I cut a couple demos, and I sent them off to to a couple publishers and got some calls back, and one of them sent me over to work at Keith Olsen's studio at Goodnight LA. Keith Olsen's producer, engineer, notable for working with everyone from Fleetwood Mac to AC/DC.
Wow.
Pat Benatar.
Yeah.
I think he's one of the five. Yeah, he's one of the 3 or 4 biggest producers of all time.
Yeah, I don't know what it is now, but I remember back in the day, he was number 3 all time in the world behind Quincy Jones and George Martin.
George Martin, yeah. So basically,
Oh my God.
Yeah, I mean that big. So funny thing, so I was playing. I had a duet, acoustic duet. I was playing in with a guitarist friend of ours, and we were playing coffee shop gigs 2-3 times a week. And as I mentioned, I'd recorded some demos, very rough demos, but the songs were good. Got a lot of publishing interest. They sent me over to work at Keith Olsen's place with his engineer, a guy named Peter Love. And so I show up at this studio, and I don't know who anyone is. I'm terrible with names, what people have done, and so on and so forth. But so we're sort of doing the get to know each other thing, playing some songs, and this guy Peter Love, who's an amazing musician in his own right. He was at the time a really successful in cutting the first tracks for up and coming bands. And we're having this meeting, and he's like, I love these songs, want to do them. And he goes, you guys have any questions? And I said, yeah. I said, you've been talking about this guy Keith Olsen the whole time. I said, who's Keith Olsen? And he said, starts going like this, like a twitch. Keith Olsen's only the 3rd most successful producer behind Quincy Jones and George Martin. Have you heard of them? Okay. Nonetheless, he said, well, what about your band? I said, we don't have a band. And he said, well, I got a couple guys for you. And he introduced me to Adam and at the time our drummer, Scotty Kormus. So we came together collectively to just rehearse a bit. We cut a couple tracks. We liked playing together. So we started rehearsing more, and we played a bunch of shows, got a couple residencies over a few months in LA. And that spawned the writing of a bunch more material. And we went and recorded an album. It did very well. Got solicited by a bunch of labels, and then proceeded for the next 3 or 4 years to get chewed up and spit out by the major labels, it was fun.
Well,
and we bonded. We did played a lot of shows, spent a lot of time in the studio.
Yeah. Was that that wasn't Pete RG, was that?
That was a band called Last December.
Oh, Last December. Okay.
Yeah.
And then when did Pete, because in Pete RG, it looks like a lot of same members for what you guys have going on now, or am I reading this wrong?
It's the same.
Same. Okay.
Basically happened. So that band split up. This sort of fizzled out after we just got burned out, and we all went and did our own things, but we stayed tight. Adam and I still did a lot of work together. I started spending a lot more time in the studio. Adam started spending more time on the road, joining Candlebox, being in Kevin Martin's other band and other projects. And this is before all of us knew each other. And at one point about 5-6 years ago, about 5 years ago, I was, as Brina mentioned earlier, I'd written some new songs, and I started wanting to play again. And so I did a few acoustic shows by myself. I was bored. I said, hey, Brina, want to join me? She said, not really. I said, please. She said, okay, I'll join you. So we played a couple of shows together acoustically on some big stages, some really nice slots. And we were still bored. And I'm a rocker at heart. Brina's like a really hard. She likes like heavy punk. So I called up Adam. I said, Adam, you want to join us for, to help maybe put the band together, do a few shows, just for fun, see what happens. And he said, sure. So he called up Dave. We met Dave. Dave listened to the stuff, was into it, and we needed a guitarist. Dave had just done some touring with Kevin. They knew each other from some projects, and the 5 of us came together, and it really it was instant chemistry. But at that time, it was the beginnings of Pete RG, which was the predecessor to this band. So with the singer-songwriter thing, where I was writing the songs, bringing them to the band, and we were all working them up collectively. We were fortunate in that we caught people's attention, and we were immediately playing 60, 70 plus shows a year around the U.S., few shows in Europe, and during the process of playing those shows, opening for Candlebox, for instance, there's a wide range of venues. We grew together as friends, and we started to write together. And there became a tipping point about a year and a half ago when it was clearly no longer a singer-songwriter project. We were writing everything collectively from the ground up, and the sound had become a rock sound, a rock and roll punk sound, which was great for all of us, especially I would say for me, because that's where my heart really lies. The singer-songwriter thing is great, but I like rocking out.
Right.
I know for these guys it's the same thing.
Sure.
And so at that point it was like, you know, we need a name change. We'd been throwing around names at the time of Sons of Silver. So it was, in fact, I think we were in the UK about a year and a half ago, and we were testing it. At least Brina and I were going around to people. They said, "What's the name of your band?" We were like, Sons of Silver. And oh, I like that. Yeah.
Waiting to see what they say.
Name change to Sons of Silver. There you go.
That's awesome. And you said you guys, was that PRG when you guys were opening up for Candlebox on those shows? Okay. Yeah. So Adam, you were doing double duty.
Yeah.
And Dave too, right? Dave. Yeah, Dave plays drums with Candlebox too. Wow.
And Kev joined them on stage a lot, especially like the encores and stuff like that.
Oh wow! Adam, did you enjoy playing two sets, or does that get kind of tiring?
No, I do like it. I've done it on several occasions. Actually, Dave and I had another band years ago called the King's Royal, and we actually went out. It was a Candlebox tour that went for 12 solid weeks in 2009, and we also opened up for 10 of those 12 weeks. That got a little that works out. So, well, Dave wasn't in Candlebox at that time, but our good friend Sean Hennessy was playing guitar in both bands. So the two of us, we did 2 shows a night for 10 straight weeks. And it gets a little tiring. I know that sounds 10 weeks, but let me tell you something. At the end of that run, you're like, yeah, you know.
Actually, I remember that because I remember we were talking, every few days, Adam. And I don't know if you remember this, but I'd be like, "Oh man, I'm so jealous you're on the road." And you'd be like, "Oh man, I'm so jealous you're home."
Yeah. Yeah, that guy's, well, the other thing was also my daughter was 1 year old, so I was missing her. I was gone for that whole summer, so there was some life stuff there. But and I love doing it, but that length of time got to be a bit much because it's 2 sound checks every day. It's 2 shows every day. It's and in the beginning it's just fun and exciting. And you get to about the week 7, 8, and it starts to catch up to you, and you're like, okay, this is starting to wear me down a little bit, because we didn't go home that entire time. But it's fun. I like doing it. I've done things for myself where I've even like mixed some of our opening bands. I've done front of house for them if they were friends of ours and they couldn't afford to have someone out there. Like there are a couple of bands where I just felt like they were getting the shaft, because they were using house guys who didn't know them, and I was like. I'm like, look, no offense, but these guys are killing you. Do you mind if I mix you? So I did that. And even that's fun. And with the same thing, how long you do it, you don't get any downtime. You don't get that break,
Right.
Sometimes you get dinners or whatever because you've got always something going. So it's fun, but limited doses.
Yeah, you said 10 weeks doesn't sound like long, but then you think about it, even during this quarantine, I mean, that's 2.5 months. It doesn't seem like, but if you think about it, I mean, that's quite a chunk of time to be playing 2 sets every single night. I mean, wow. Okay, so then obviously PRG turned into Sons of Silver, and I want to hear about this new EP and putting this together.
Kevin, you got to talk some more, bro.
Yeah. Come on, step in there, Kevin. We have Rude Awakenings, Outbreak, Deep Division, Read Them Their Rights, and World on Fire.
That's right.
Yeah.
I mean, I guess I don't know what to say. We made it here in this room, actually.
Oh, really?
Brina, like I said before, engineered and mixed and all that stuff.
Uh-huh.
And were these songs that came from, were these all fresh or any of these from PRG?
No, nothing from PRG, sorry.
Yeah, nothing from PRG. These were all fresh. These were all things that we'd kind of written together,
Okay.
Yeah.
So we
a couple of them.
A
couple of them.
And maybe there was probably a step up in the amount of rock going into this one too.
Yeah.
And were these songs that you guys, somebody had an idea, for example, Read Them Their Rights, that song, was that an idea that spun out, or did you come into it and
that was
Kevin's playing a riff, or
most all our songs start at jam sessions. Occasionally one of us comes in with a riff of some kind. I mean, even that's pretty minimal. But no, the four of us, the four of us being Adam, myself, Kevin, and Dave go in the room. Brina's recording, and we just start messing around. And Adam probably noted it the best. We're all very reactive. That includes Brina as well. We're all really sensing what each other's doing, and we sort of will play off that. And as we start doing that, it's something either we'll just keep moving through ideas, cycling through different little bits every few minutes, or we'll start to latch onto a particular idea collectively and we start running with it. And as we start doing that, it starts circling faster and faster. Kevin will play something, that I'll start keying off of, and then Dave will key off of me, Adam will key off that, so on and so forth. And that escalates, starts to stew, the energy picks up, and next thing you know, we're off and running in it. And I would say it's very stream of conscious.
It is. It's weird. We don't, it's different than any other situation I've been in. We don't really talk about anything.
No. I swear to God, I had to do a written interview, the one I was doing earlier today. And I said that, I said, we don't talk.
Just kind of sit down. And I mean, anybody could do anything. And it's honestly weird. I don't like to look it in the eye that much.
No.
There's a lot of class. Yeah.
But it just kind of happens, man. We sit down and kind of start playing, and music happens.
Yeah.
And then Peter, do you sit down and write the lyrics, or what happens after that? How does that take place?
Well, Brina was going to add something. Were you going to say something?
Well, I was gonna say, from the other side of the glass, it's not uncommon for me to, be 3 or 4 takes into them kind of honing a song, and then all of a sudden one of them will start just noodling around while waiting, and then we'll get onto it and it'll be a whole new song, and I have to bookmark that to export to the writing session, and that'll happen very 3 or 4 times, even just working on one song. So there's a lot of, I don't know, there's just a lot of inspiration that's going on, and it's pretty awesome.
Yeah, I mean, that's actually, to answer your original question, that's what happened with Read 'Em Your Rights. We were noodling on ideas, and there was a pause for a few moments, not really any talking, and I started just playing some early semblance of what became the intro riff for the song, and Dave started just going back of that, that just old 60s style, 4, hitting the snare in every chord note, double time feel, and next thing I know, Kevin and Adam have jumped in, and Kevin's playing that. I'm terrible at singing our song. Other than singing, he's singing the parts, but so ignore that. But okay. We're in it, and we're going, and I start singing some stuff on top, and we pretty much finished the song within 20-30 minutes. All the potatoes of it. The pieces. Yeah. And it was Adam. Cool. Adam was like, we were trying to figure out, how are we going to get into a chorus? Where do we go with this? And he was like, I really like what you're saying with everybody walks a big walk and talk thing. And how about we emphasize that, pause, and then go somewhere else? So we did that, figure out where to go. And that was it. And to go to your other question about the lyrics, I'm the lyricist, but we all talk about the topics that are in the lyrics often, which is very socio-political. I mean often, all the time. And so I'm in many ways kind of just the spokesperson in that sense. And a lot of the lyrics, the key lyrics in particular, come up within these jam sessions. So there'll be like a lot of cornerstones, if not just 60-70% of the lyrics. And that's really cool because it really, I believe, and I think I know there's a couple times where Kevin said to me, for instance, hey, I really like that lyric, and make a note of it. But the lyrics will then drive the band as well. It's not just about the music at that point. Because if I'm singing and Read 'Em Their Flowers or something, I don't know how much that's going to really
translate.
But a little slower.
I like what you said, Brina, where you were talking about kind of being on the other side of it, and hearing parts and being like marking it and putting that aside for like you said like you'd send it to like a writing area or whatever.
We have a writing session, and whenever anything like that happens, that's good to bookmark. I usually just make a note and bring that into the writing session, and a lot of times start the day listening to, okay, well, where do we leave off? Like what
Mm-hmm.
5 to 10 ideas did we leave off? And then, play them back wherever they're at, and then see what inspires, and then, well, hey, let's go work on that,
Mm-hmm.
So it's pretty organic, there's not a lot, like they were saying, there's not a lot of like, well, let's talk about what kind of vibe we want, or
Right.
what do we want to go for? It's like, hey, let's just go in and play. And I think each person has their own set of like music taste,
Mm-hmm.
but also accumulatively, like everyone has very similar music taste. So there's a lot of shared feelings about what everyone likes,
Mm-hmm.
and also just enough different where the guys can just take it anywhere, really. And
Mm-hmm.
they're professional. They're so, for me, they're so good that they can really play anything. So
Right.
it's kind of fun, for them to just explore, and that's part of the sound, I think, that we're finding is they could do anything. There's no one saying, oh, we're just rock and roll, or we're
Mm-hmm.
just indie, or we're just blues, or we're just this. It's kind of whatever comes out.
Sure. And that's cool that you can kind of, steer the ship, so to speak, when it comes to like hearing something that they're doing and being like, oh, that's cool. Let's save that for later. And just kind of knowing, you're kind of orchestrating it behind the scenes, so to speak, like, oh yeah, that's a rad guitar riff. We should save that, or maybe play it to them tomorrow. Because I'm sure a lot of the time you don't even remember maybe half the stuff that you guys are doing for 4 or 5 hours.
At all, yeah.
We, for instance, we're in the middle of working on some new songs right now, and it was like a week and a half ago. We had one day, and we didn't think, we were like, okay, we basically the first part of the day we were reviewing and fine tuning a song that we had been working up the week prior, and we were like, okay, this is cool. Let's start messing around with some other ideas, and started messing with the ideas, and we're like, yeah, okay. I think we were all a little tired that day, which is kind of rare. And then so everyone takes off. Brina goes home, and I'm at the studio here by myself, just sort of making backups of our hard drives and the likes, and just quickly what we did. And I was like, geez, this one, listen to this one, listen to this. Well, wait a minute, we didn't even know. So I literally just pulled out my phone, held it up to the speakers, got like a minute and a half of it or so, texted it to everyone. I'm like, listen to this one. Everyone's like, oh geez, so let's get back in. So we came back in a couple of days. We were going to anyway, and banged out that song right away. And it was,
that's awesome.
All we had were about 5 minutes, 7 minutes of it, and we like you said, we would have completely forgotten.
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah, that's the crazy thing, is because we do write so much, we have so much material that literally we'll talk about a song we did a few days ago or a week before. Yeah, remember this one? And I know I'm not the only one, but I'm really bad at it. It's like, could you just play it for me? Because I don't remember this at all.
Yeah.
Literally, it's like there are times I'm like, I'm gonna have to listen to this because I can hear kind of what I'm doing, but I don't. What the hell were we doing there? But it's cool. So when we're all excited, we go back, and any talking we do is in the landing mode. You know what I mean?
Yeah, exactly.
Final flushing out. But we knock things out so fast. Like the other day, we were trying to get a take on a song, and I think we threw down 3 new ideas while waiting to get one take out there. So we got to the point where we bookmarked 3 more things to work on. And Dave started playing this beat, and I go, "That's a really cool drum beat." And I can't remember who said it. Was like, they were like, "No, stop, stop, too much stuff, stop." Like, we got to that point.
Well, especially for me, I'm like, wait, unless you guys are gonna write some lyrics here,
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Yeah.
It's
So we
good
have an opposite problem that we actually have to stop the train so we can finish the ones. That's
right.
But we're good about finishing.
That last 15 to 10% of the song. Because the first 75% just comes out, it's like boom, it's just done.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I would say like 85, 90% usually. It's
well, musically, I'm giving a little more credit to the lyrics.
Oh yeah. Well, no, we get about 10% of the way, and then
well, I'm sure that's not a bad problem to have. More material than less, right?
A high grade problem, that's for sure.
Totally. And congratulations on the success of Reading Their Rights too. I saw on your guys' Instagram that it's charting really well on Billboard too. Top 40. That's huge.
Yeah, it was there for 8-9 weeks, and I don't know where it's at this week. We are actually moving on to our second single,
okay.
Deep Division, in I think next week, if not later this week, they're going to start putting it to radio because they want to get to the second one before the year gets any further along. And so they wanted to really keep running with Read 'Em, but we know it's going to naturally just sort of peter out over the, it's been on the charts so long, which is a great problem to have.
Place, yeah. To
be. But they're moving on to a song called Deep Division for the next track, which is a little lighter.
Okay.
Which it's but at the same time, it's Read 'Em Their Rights is it's edgier in lyrically as well and emotionally, and everyone the sense was that we wanted to do a song which was a little more embracing, pulling people together. So Deep Division, while it's talking about the division of our society in a personal way, it's also, it has a sort of kumbaya moment at the end. It's like we can get through this and come together. And this song, it's important to know this song, as well as Read 'Em, as well as all the songs on this latest EP, they were all written before COVID-19, before 2020.
Oh, that was my next question for you, actually.
Yeah,
was
we're
this...
rebranding ourselves the Prophets.
These were all written and recorded last fall. Like this was all done by Thanksgiving.
Yeah,
that's right.
Oh my gosh!
Yeah.
Wow! Like just the song titles itself, it's like, really? Yeah. Outbreak, World on Fire.
Even earlier, because I started mixing it in July. Or starting to work
for a couple
on
of the songs. We did a few of the songs in the spring, and then the rest.
Yeah, but I meant more like the mixing and mastering. Like we got it all done by Thanksgiving. The EP was finished.
Yeah.
Wow.
And we have a bunch of others from the batch from last fall that we're finishing up right now. Some that are equally as insightful, let's just say that way.
So we've probably got about 3 albums worth of songs in the mix right now that we're all developing and recording right now.
Yeah.
That's great. That's awesome. Were you guys playing out at all prior to COVID happening, or was this all kind of still studio? Oh, you were
up through last summer, and then we settled down in the fall I keep talking to you guys and just whack me, hit me.
Well, Candlebox actually, Adam and Dave and then myself working on a Candlebox album in spring of last year. So we all kind of.
That was summer.
Was that summer?
That was
August,
summer.
September.
August.
Right. So we all had to be kind of back and home by summertime, but we were touring a bunch pretty much all year up until that.
Yeah. We were expecting to be on the road by March of this year, April at the latest. So obviously that didn't happen.
Sure. Were you was not releasing the record or the songs even a thought in your head, or were you thinking about that due to COVID?
We were a little concerned about Outbreak because it was coming out fast at the beginning of COVID, and we were a little worried that it would be sensitive, but we thought, you know what, let's just, a lot of our favorite music is controversial, so
we postponed the release of the EP. We never really considered not releasing it. In fact, it's been, to be honest, it being the chaos of 2020. It's been to our benefit in that, one, there were fewer releases when we released our EP. That allowed us a little bit more of a window to not only to the greater audience, but also to industry and particularly with radio. So we didn't have to fight as hard to get the attention of music directors and program directors. And they really took to not only the first single, Read 'Em Their Rights, they took to the EP as well. And that helped us get on a lot of stations. And the cool part is that it wasn't just we'll play them and that's that, because they're just filling time. We stuck around in the charts, and we can all proudly say that we have stuck around in the charts a lot longer than some of those artists that are very well known who had releases in a couple weeks that followed ours have gone on and off the charts. So it was beneficial in that sense. Also, it's given us some time to record some new songs to prep for when everything settles back down, and also to build our relationships with the industry, to push our social networks and the like. So that's one of the benefits for us. But it is hard not being on the road, especially when you're used to spending so much time in the road in one form or another. It's tough.
Yeah, that's interesting. But I mean, just it's great and awesome that you guys got radio play, but I mean, I've been in radio for 15 years, and it just because a song makes it on the air doesn't mean it's going to chart. And the fact that you guys are top 40 for 8 weeks plus, I mean, that's pretty unreal. I mean, I've worked on alternative stations where we'd play a record a million times and it wouldn't even get, no one cared, or that band would come to town and 30 people would show up. And it's like, the fact that you guys got on radio, but then it really resonated with people, I think that's amazing.
Thank you.
We're very grateful and hopeful that's been our showing so far. It's like, because we know that as much as we love that EP, we all feel that as we continue to write it, we're getting better.
Yeah.
So if we can go and use that as our starting point to grow this, that's an amazing place to start. So we can't complain at all.
Absolutely.
Sure. Do you feel like because the record was, I mean, you wrote it a while ago and it's finally just coming out, are you like already, 2 EPs ahead of it now? Kind of like you're not sick of the songs, but like you're saying, you feel like the new ones are better. Like, I guess my question is like,
I think we get, is it like, what are we past it? Is that what you're asking?
Right. Yeah. That's my question. I was trying to figure out a way to say it.
I don't think so. I couldn't remember what songs were on it, but we recorded so many sonms.
We had Hey Jude was on there.
Exactly.
Stairway to Heaven.
That's right. Mountain Hop.
Well, because the thing is because we write so much stuff, it seems like every time we go out on tour, because we're not doing like a headlining slot where we're playing for an hour and a half, 2 hours every night. We're cranking out on average probably like 7-8 songs a set each night. And because we have so many songs, each time we go out on tour, we have very painful decisions to make, as far as, because we have some new stuff, we have some things that have done well, and then there are ones that are just personal favorites. So no matter what we do, we're always leaving out songs that we like. And honestly, because we've done these songs and we've put everything into them, it really is going to boil down to, when we go back out on the road again, it's what's gotten traction. What do people want to hear? Because we're happy to play any of these songs. So if we're going into a place where people don't know us and it's their first exposure to the music, if we're in an opening slot, we're going to play the stuff that we like to play. But now that we're getting this radio airplay, there might be a turning point where now there's going to be songs that people are going to come, they're already going to know, and they're going to be waiting to hear. So hopefully that's a whole new dynamic whenever all this craziness ends and we get back out, that we're going to have to think, what are people expecting to hear versus what do we want to show to people that don't know us?
Sure. Yeah. Like, are you going to have to read them their rights at the very end now? I don't know if it's closer, but it's interesting to think about how that kind of.
You were just saying?
I just said there's nothing I don't want to play, though. I'll say that. Like, there's nothing I look back on being like, oh man, we're past that and I don't want to do that anymore.
Right.
There's none of that.
That's good.
I'm happy about.
Yeah, totally. Have you guys been able to promote the record like with live streams or anything like that? Are you guys doing any of that stuff?
We will be, actually. We were testing it last week. We'll be done with our setup. We just have some technical things we have to sew up here at the studio, some extra cabling so that we're not tripping over ourselves. But yeah, we'll be up and running with that within a week. Probably do our first live stream, official one, in about 2 weeks, 2.5 weeks from now.
Very cool.
We'll figure we'll start doing some tests. In fact, if you want, send us your email, directly, and we'll invite you to come, check out some of the private streams and give us.
I would love to. I'm gonna send it to you right when we're done with this conversation.
But the price for getting the private streams is you have to be willing to give good feedback.
Yeah.
Oh.
We're honest.
I think I can handle that. I can afford that.
Yeah.
I love that. That's awesome. So you're gonna do your live stream coming up. That's really exciting.
Yeah.
And yeah, the record's doing rad. Do you think, you said you have enough material for another EP, or are you guys thinking of full length record next? Or
we probably got about 4 EPs worth of material in the can right now.
Do you want to do a full album, or are you gonna do another EP, or no idea yet?
From speaking with Universal, we're probably going to stick to EPs for some time.
Okay.
And even just in general, I don't know how you guys feel, but my experience has been talking to friends, family now, that it's easier to digest fewer songs for the general audience, and it seems to be easier for for industry as well, at least for press and the like. So
Mhm.
we'll probably stick to that until the time tells us to do otherwise.
Cool. Very cool. And thank you guys so much again for
Oh.
taking time to chat with me today, dude. I really
Thank
appreciate
you, Adam.
it.
Thank you so much, man. It's awesome.
You guys have been so cool. I have one more question. I want to get, and if I can get an answer from all of you individually, that'd be rad. I want to know if you have any advice for aspiring artists.
Run.
Run.
Grow some thick skin. Let's start with Brina.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm like I would say never lose sight of your inner guide. You know, I think you're going to get a lot of people who are going to tell you what to do, how to do it, what sound you are, what would be better. And I think, you know, just trust why you got into it, and just remember that. You remember your inspiration, and also find your own voice. I mean, it's good to start, you know, from, let's say you had a certain artist you love and you start playing or singing a little like them or using that as inspiration. That's great. And then find your own voice within it, you know?
I love it.
Well, there you go.
Yeah, go.
I mean, why you're gonna make me follow that? Yeah,
You just won. It's over.
I would double down on that one. It's almost like when we're recording songs, you know, when we're writing a song. Or for me, when I'm writing lyrics, a lot of things are thrown down quick, and then we'll start experimenting with other ideas. As let's just say, as the song starts to evolve, and we start experimenting, departing from where we originally were. But it's always really good to have that original idea, those original ideas there that you can refer back to, because they're very grounding. And far more often than not, that if you hit a bump in the road, if you sort of get too far out of where you originally were, where you lose sight of why you're even there, that those original ideas will get you there. And I think the same thing could be said for getting in the music industry. It's good to maybe make some notes, even on paper or on your phone, to say, this is why I'm doing this. It's almost like talking to yourself in the future, because you are going to hit some bumps in the road. No matter what career you choose, you're going to hit bumps in the road. You're going to go through those moments where you're down, you're doubting yourself, you're questioning your sanity, and you really don't know what's coming tomorrow, much less a month or two from now. And those are the times when you have to sort of refer, as she was saying, to your inner self and why you started. And I can assure you, though, that if you have some patience in this industry and you have some openness, if you have some talent and some drive, you'll find a collective group of people who you can work with in one form or another. It doesn't necessarily mean in the band, who you not only will grow with career-wise, you'll grow with emotionally, grow with as friends, and that's really one of the special things about music. So I would say give yourself patience, persistence, and have that sort of marker stone to help guide you along the way.
Love that.
Kind of leads into what I was thinking. I would say find people to work with that you have fun with,
Yeah.
and that you like being around.
Yeah.
For a couple reasons. Number one, I think if whatever band you're in is not having fun, the chances that the people that are coming to see you are going to have fun are real low. I think. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
you got to be having fun. Plus, for all the reasons he just said, it's almost like a marriage. You're going to live with these people. You're going to hang out with them. I mean, it's got to be people that it's got to be fun. It's supposed to be fun.
Yes.
They call
fun.
it playing for a reason.
Yeah.
There you go. I love that.
Yes. Yes.
Well,
I've never heard anyone. I've
I've
never heard anyone say this before. That's such a great one.
Yeah, it's very true.
Good.
And
These guys are good. See, these guys are way quicker with the tongue than I am. If Dave was here, I hope you're feeling better, Dave. But you know,
yeah, it's the same theme there, is just do what you like and what makes you happy, because nothing's guaranteed. And at least if you're doing something that makes you happy and you're proud of it, you always have that with you, even if you're not getting, commercial success or whatever that means, at least if you enjoy that, So the mantra I would go with here is, you got to quote Napoleon Dynamite: do whatever you want to do, gosh.
Bring it back,